Hello everybody and a very warm welcome back to the latest episode of Hidden Jewels of Soul and Disco. I do hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. In this week's episode we are featuring Mandre Lewis, aka Mandre. Why Mandre's fourth album wasn't really known to the public till 2010, and why just a few copies from the record plant went actually to record stores, well, we'll discuss this after some needle drops.
They are selling themselves to good food on the shelves, and I guess
Mandre Lewis was born in 1948 in Nebraska. His father was Harry Lewis, a member of the Count Basie band and also band leader of Etta James and Fats Domino. When Mandre was 15 years old, he created his first quartet, the Michael Lewis Quartet, and later on it became the Andrew Lewis and the New Breed. He had a childhood friend, and this name of the childhood friend was Buddy Miles. He continued on working with Buddy Miles, especially on the album Them Changes. And while being on tour with Buddy Miles in the early 70s, well, they were visiting a concert when they were having a day off. And the show they saw was the Bobby Blue Band. And the Bobby Blue Band had a warm-up act, and this woman was a former ICAT. Her name was Maxine. After the show, mesmerized, Mandre approached Maxine and asked her if she would like to work with him. And also at the same concert, the same night, no other than Donny Hathaway also approached her, gave her his card and said, "I would really love to produce you." Once Donny was gone, Mandre said, "I'm sure he can do some fantastic things with you, but I want to go in a totally different direction musical-wise with you. Would you come with me on that journey?" And, well, Maxine did. And together they formed the group Maxine and released albums. These were Maxine in 1972, we had Mindful in 1973, and Bail Out of Fun in 1974. Those were all done on the Capricorn label. And, well, they were in a different direction musically. They were also on Soul Train with Check Out Your Mind, but that really didn't help to promote the group. Also, what kind of difficult situation for the group was, they knew people in the record company. And they were like, in the warehouse and calling Maxine and saying, "Hey, we've got thousands of records stocked up here, piled up here, and they are not being delivered." And the group was like, "Well, we get a lot of airplay and attention in certain regions, and it would be great if we could get the records out there where people starting to get an interest." So the record label wasn't really doing that, so they took the matters in their own hands, went into the warehouse and took care that at least some of these records were shipped to the regions where the group was getting attention. Once the last album was out, the contract question came up with Capricorn, and the group refused to sign a contract with a talent agency, which was also being directed by one of the co-founders of Capricorn. And this guy was Phil Warden. So with a lack of marketing and also not getting the records out where they should be, where the band is requested, and also with a record company which is really not understanding where the music is going from and where the music is going to and how to market it, well, the group Maxine parted ways with Capricorn. Maxine herself went on to tour as a backing singer for major artists. And Andre, well, he had an idea in mind. He wanted to create a kind of space-age superhero who brings music from outer space and, yeah, bringing people into a good mood with sounds they haven't heard before. So the idea for Mandre came up. And in 1977, he was right on spot with space-aged music, because thanks to Star Wars, space and everything with space and synthesizer music was the thing. And a record label which is originally not known for having synthesizer and space music, well, he got a contract from Motown. So in 1977, Mandre, his debut album on Motown, came out, and here it is in all of its glory. If this picture mask looks kind of familiar to you from a group from recent years, well, I'm pretty sure that these guys at least took an inspiration from Mandre. And as you also can see, it has a hype sticker which says Solar Fight. And Solar Fight, or Opus 1, became a club classic in 1977. Andre was, in my opinion, someone who felt home and really happy being in the studio. He wasn't like the person who went on stage and had the best time of his life. I think he loved the studio more, and therefore having a mask to hide behind was for him a great way to getting into both ways. And this mask was created by Bill Witten, who also created the famous white or star-studded glove from Michael Jackson. In 1978, it followed to Mandre number 2, and in 1979 we had M3000. So Motown, which is not known, like I said earlier on, for synthesizer music and space funk and all of these, well, they didn't know how to market him, so they played with the enigma or someone behind the mask. And also the catchphrase "funkier than Parliament" was also used by Motown. But in the public eye, people were questioning, why is this man behind a mask? What is he hiding? Is he not good looking? What is the reason for doing this? So that playing with the enigma didn't really work out in Mandre's favor. The mask was also created for him, like I said in the beginning, he didn't feel like home on stage, so he could wear the mask on stage while playing. There is actually no information that he ever toured, and it might be possible that in 1978 he was part of the Motown Magical Spring Tour. At least he's been advertised on this promotion picture to be part of. But otherwise, there are no informations available about any live appearances from Mandre. As you are not having really hit records, and especially his last 2 albums on Motown hadn't any chart entrance, well, your priority in the marketing department of any record label is not the highest. So you won't get the same kind of promotion as, for example, the Commodores or Rick James. So in 1979, Motown parted ways with Mandre. In 1982, Mandre recorded his 4th album. So Andrew Lewis recorded it and called it Mandre number 4. And he made the label Future Grooves for it. And he recorded it. And you remember in the beginning when I said that not many records were delivered to the record store? Well, that has a reason. Because of a malfunctional fire system. So once these records were pressed on a transparent vinyl, and it was also being put in a transparent jacket, that was stored in the warehouse, and one night the fire alarm system had a malfunction and a sprinkler system, well, that started and did his job. And it did it very well. So only a few copies could be saved and could actually be sent out to record stores. So not many records of Mandre 4 are out there. Mandre himself tried some promotion by himself as he put a little ad in the Billboard magazine of May 1982, where you can see him with his face having the mask in one hand and the keyboard in the other. But that really didn't help, next to the fact that the record was actually nowhere available. Another factor of this record is the sound quality. So Mandre recorded this album in a van which was converted to a recording studio, and he bought this van from Warner Brothers. So the equipment he had in that van were not the same or as sophisticated as the ones he had with Motown. So therefore the sound quality is not the best. In 2010, you remember when I said in the beginning that many people had no idea that there's a fourth album of Mandre? Well, in 2010, Rush Hour did a reissue of Mandre 4. And overall, many people wrote, well, this sounds like a straight copy from the record. And also with the CD version, it was like the mastering is pretty bad. So in defense of Rush Hour, they really tried to get hold of the master tapes for reissue. At that point, Mandre or Andrew Lewis told them they were gone. And it's very likely that these master tapes were in the van where he recorded the album, but well, he sold that van decades ago. So if these tapes are still around, I highly doubt it. So Rush Hour only had a vinyl copy to do a reissue from. And in many cases, a reissue from a needle drop works out very well, and in some cases, it doesn't. That was in 2010, so technology improved over the years. Well, maybe it's time to give Mandre 4 another shot. If you want to have an original copy of Mandre 4, well, you have to consider a pricing between $100 and $200 to get an original copy of them. So, as you can imagine, Mandre 4 didn't really do much. And yeah, in 2012, Andrew Lewis passed away. In the meantime, he was working for the likes of LaBelle, Frank Zappa, The Who, you name it. A personal note from me at that point is, in my humble opinion, Andrew Lewis is not getting half the credit he deserves for being a pioneer in synthesizer music. Do you know Roger Lynn and his famous Lynn drum machine? Well, Andre helped him a lot with this machine, fixing things, giving advice, being a first adapter for Roland for many of these machines who were the backbone of 80s music. Well, Andre was right in the middle of this, and this is hardly being acknowledged. Also the fact that he contributed a lot of inspiration, ideas, songwriting, production to many other artists who are now declared as mega superstars from that period of time. Well, he also had a piece of the cake in helping that. And if you have the chance, I would highly suggest that you check out Andrew Lewis. Next to Maxane, next to Mandre, also the side projects he had, and also the help he gave other artists in becoming who they were. If you like that episode, I would highly suggest that you check out the playlist which is showing up here. And I also can highly suggest that you check out Maxane and Mandre. And the good news is, if you want to have the first 3 albums, or the only 3 albums which were released on Motown during the late 70s, they're out there. And if you want to have an original, they are not expensive. If you want to have the fourth Mandre album, well, you have to put in some money out of your pocket. Like I said, it's nowadays between $100 and $200. Unfortunately, from Mandre 4, there are not many tracks available on YouTube. I only found one, but still that gave a great impression of the music of this record. So also, I would suggest that you check out the reissue from Rush Hour, which came out in 2010. Beware, the sound quality is not to be compared with the material he did on Motown, and I'm pretty sure that Rush Hour did everything they could to improve the sound quality of this reissue. So you have to consider that and keep that in mind. It was a needle drop done in 2010 and not being done from the master tapes as they were gone or still driving around in some van out there in the United States. Who knows? But yeah, you have to consider this. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.